Hey everybody, my name is Greg, and this is the SAQ. The SAQ is a Spatial Awareness Quotient. Really what it means is that how well do you understand how to build your skills? A lot of people judge themselves based on how many medals they get, or what skill they can do, or how many skills they can link together, but no one really actually looks at how well do you understand how to build skills so that even if you haven't already done it yet, there's a good chance that you'll succeed in a safe, step-by-step manner. So what this test really measures is your ability to learn, not just dictating what you've already done in the past. So what we have here is a whole bunch of different cutouts, and you've already seen this with the actual package. If you haven't already seen it, go into the description. It will be a link there. You can download the step-by-step process of how to do this, but this is a video format. So what we have here is our takeoff positions. Here we have, are we going to twist left and right? How many twists we're going to be doing, either a quarter of a twist, a half a twist, 3/4 of a twist, or a full twist. And then what position are we going to be doing in the air? So what we're going to be doing is scrambling these up, putting them face down, and we are going to pick one of these each. This combines together to create effectively what we would call a skill. And this skill would have to be performed on the trampoline or off the trampoline, depending on which level you are or which combination you're doing, and we'll get to that in a second. But you're gonna combine all these together, pick up a random set of skills, and you're gonna have to create it. So let's go through it for the level ones. The level one is your beginner level. These athletes are new, they haven't been jumping for 20 years, they're just understanding how their body moves, and we're gonna help them do that with this game where it teaches them the underlying mathematics of building skills so they can do that long into the future rather than just isolating individual skills from the code of points and saying, here's the way to do this. Now we don't need to remember that. Now here's the way to do this. Then we can forget it. And this. And it creates all these different moving pieces, but not really a path to success that an athlete can use when they're either inside the gym or outside the gym. You can start to see how this would actually become more of a safety concern. Because if the athlete doesn't understand how to build the skills, who's to know what they're going to do in the future? A game like this, and what you'll see is it can actually become a test when we start doing the mathematics of it on the back end, and you'll realize that you can actually measure success in this way and realize, is the athlete actually equipped to understand mechanics so they'll be safer into the future? So let's start off with our level ones. We are just going to focus on the twisting axis here. We do not have any rotations. We are only going to be focusing on, they're going to twist left or right on the vertical axis. We are just going to mix these up. You can put them in a jar, you can put them in a plate, you can just close your eyes, you can make a spinny wheel, you can do anything you want fundamentally, but you basically mix these all up. I'm just going to close my eyes here, and I'm going to pick one of each. So I have to take off in this position here. I need to twist to the left. I'm a right twister, so it's going to make me twist my wrong way. And I'm going to have to twist 3/4 of a twist. So that means it's not a full twist, it's not a half, which is normally what everyone does. But this is going to show how much control I really have. Now, we're going to do a position in the air. What do we pick? And a straddle. So again, this is for your beginners. So the beginner athlete is going to have to bounce on their butt like this in a diamond shape with their feet, where their feet are coming together like a yoga pose, like this. They can have the hands up, they can have them down, whatever. You'll decide as you go. I have to then bounce off my butt, to the left, twist 3/4, and then with a straddle jump at some point in time. I do not have to be straddled the whole time. I just have to be able to touch my toes at some point before I land. Now you will see that you can land back like this, or you can land on your feet. This is up for the coach to decide and the athlete to decide, depending on exactly what skill level they are. What you'll see is that when you start doing all these different combinations, is that it's not always going to be dictated on how you should land, and we'll address that a little bit in the future. So let's get right to it. Level one, we're going to make this skill piece by piece, step by step. Okay, so we're going to start off by the position. We're going to add 3/4 of a twist to the left in a straddle position. So first I need to make sure the athlete understands the position that they're going to be landing in, and if they can even land in that position. I'm not just going to throw them down and assume. Humans tend to like to assume they're really up here, but really we want to start back here. So we're not going to assume. We're going to start off by just a little bounce like this, making sure that they're balanced, making sure there's no pain here, all that sort of stuff. Generally speaking, athletes will do this pretty quickly, and they'll already know, but make sure that if you have to, break it down. They can go higher, they can build it up piece by piece. Everything's good. You should be able to bounce with your arms up without actually crumbling like this. You should be able to be nice and strong because you're doing lots of conditioning, of course. So we're here and we get the bounce. So we got our step one. Now I need to be able to twist to the left 3/4. So I'm going to do that degree by degree, piece by piece. I'm normally a right twister, so I can do that pretty easily, but I actually have to think about the way I'm going now. So I'm going to break it down degree by degree and not just wing it, because that's how I'm going to bust my ankle. We got our 3/4. Now all I need to do is figure out where the straddle is. This is what's going to happen here is your athletes are going to realize very quickly that they actually have to do the straddle at the end. If they try to jump like this and straddle right away, they're not going to be able to use the arms to create the twist. Remember, your twist and your flip fundamentally are the starting points because that's going to initiate the direction or which axis you're rotating on. Then the position happens once you're already in the air and you're just going along for a ride. So we will end up thinking about it at the end. Then you build it up more and more, get those feet higher. And you effectively have your very first beginner skill. We would call this freestyle because it's not a skill that's really recognized by the code of points, but it is a skill. It is a behavior pattern that athletes should be able to understand, should be able to build up and break it back down. All skills can be built up, broken back down, and mixed and matched, and that's what the SAQ is. It is about taking all these individual components that you see on the pieces of paper and be able to mix and match them any way that you can imagine in your brain and safely build them, effectively making any skill possible and your possibility of skills infinite. We're going to build this now. We got stomach drop, full turn to the left with the hands on the head position. Now, coaches, you need to be there with the athlete building this. This isn't something you just throw them in and say, good luck, see what happens. You're probably going to get an injury if the athlete doesn't already understand it. And from my experience going around to lots of different clinics, a lot of athletes aren't really taught how to build skills. They're taught how to do already pre-made skills and don't really understand the building process. This is why a drill like this will really help your athletes stay a little bit safer and be a little bit more aware of what's actually happening here. So when, coach, you're not around, are they still going to be able to understand the process? Yeah, they will. So they'll be safer and understand it better, and it'll be less work for you, coach. So we're going to start off. I'm a right twister, so if I was going to do this, I'd be normally going this way, but I have to go the other way. So I'm going to build it piece by piece. I'm not just going to wing it and see what happens. That's a great way to bust your ankles. So we're going to go degree by degree by degree, the same way we discuss in coaching creatures. So we start off with our stomach. Look maybe at a visual like this. You'll notice that sometimes what we have is a visual marker that goes all the way around. And if coaches maybe have a foam, maybe something that you can use, and all you do is have the athlete look for it. It's a much easier way to get them to understand what direction they're going when they're younger. And they look here. And just move this around. Same deal. And we can go right back here. All right, so we got our first part, and that's how we built it. We don't just throw it, we build it instead. It's a huge difference. So we're gonna take this out of the way now. The athlete will do a couple of those, make sure they understand it. And now we have to figure out, well, where we're gonna add in this position. This position is actually where the arms are half length. When we twist, like we said in the book, the arms need to come out here, then snap in. So if we're just going to here, we're not gonna get effective rotation. So what we're gonna do actually is teach the kids an order of operation, meaning that they have to think about setting first with a twist, then bring the arms in when they're already in the air. This will make it easier for them rather than thinking up and going to here and then being stuck. So again, everything has this process, a building block, a pathway to success, and that's what we're teaching with the SAQ. So let me show you. So if we don't think about the order of operations, we will end up doing something like this. I can't get the twist, no matter which way I go. I can kind of hula hoop around, but it's not going to be very effective. Twisting is not a hula hooping direction. It is more about a contact twist, getting the weight on this side of the body to then create the twist. So that's what we're going to teach. So when the athlete now goes back to the degree by degree, we're going to add the position in right at the end. Like this. You can see that I'm using this arm a little bit to get that weight distribution out to the side. That's going to make me twist. And then when I'm in the air, I've already set everything. I can't do anything besides change positions. And that's when I hit the last part of the equation. Now, so if we have the whole thing together, it is a stomach drop with a full turn to the left with your lazy boy position. And that's how you build a skill. So we did the first one to the feet, and we saw how we could systematically build a potentially brand new skill out of a random collection of papers. So now let's do the other landing position, which can be back onto the stomach. So with something like this, you're probably going to want a mat, a thin mat where the kid can jump on, but doesn't scrape up their elbows and hurt themselves. Again, it's all about safety and learning how to build a skill, and building has mats involved in it, so be safe, guys. So we're going to put this on. And we're going to do the same process. You got to make sure they can do the stomach drop. No problem. I need them now to twist to the left, which means they're going to go this way. They're going to barrel roll effectively. But again, we don't just go for the barrel roll. We go degree by degree. So we can start here and turn, bring those arms in. Now this is an important point. This is where a drill like this can also teach your athlete how to fall down safely. Because the problem is a lot of athletes just kind of do whatever they want, but when they have to land on their side purposefully, the arms come in and they learn to land like that, like it's an actual position, not just a fall. Every time you touch the trampoline, it's a new position, and you can land in any way that you want if you understand it well enough. And we're just going to build it up degree by degree. Got our full turn. Now, we now add the second, or the position in, the lazy boy. Again, we're gonna have to create that twist first and then do the position at the end. If we try it right at the start, we won't be able to get the twist first. It's just not gonna work that way. I have to create the twist. And there we go. The same deal, but onto the stomach or onto the feet. The second one I did is definitely harder. So coaches, this is again where you're gonna wanna work with the athletes, build it up step by step, decide what the safest landing position is, and then build it systematically the way we did here. You can alternate the different patterns, you can change what's written on each piece of paper. So have a little fun with it, make it creative, make it a game. All right, so once you played with that a little bit, you realize that you can take more positions here, these pieces of paper, and you can just write in whatever you want. You can invent skills. You can invent different positions like the lazy boy, weird crab positions. You can clap in the air, do different stuff. So get the athletes to help you build this. It is all about them exploring what they can do on a trampoline and in gymnastics. I hope you guys can realize that this goes way beyond a trampoline. We do this with tumbling, we do this with gymnastics, we do this with high bar, we do this in wind tunnels in Poland. This exact same process of how people can build and mix and match their movements can be applied everywhere. So let's get right into level 2. Level 2, once you've done your level 1, and that's your twist axis, we're now going to isolate the flip axis. We're not going to do both together until the advanced level, but we are going to isolate one piece at a time. Because remember, athletes are learning how to piece together this in their brain. They're creating a map that goes 1 axis, 2 axis, 3 axis, and how to mix and match these things at will. So we're going to go just for the rotational axis. So all we've done here is we have rotated from our left and right twist to a forward and backward flip. So what we're going to do is mix and match these again. Blah, blah, blah. Here we go. Mix and match. I pick one of each. My eyes are closed. So I need to start off with the hands and knees. That's my takeoff position. I need to flip forward. I need to do 3/4 flip forward from hands and knees. And I need a lazy boy position to top it off. So I will do hands and knees, bounce hands and knees with a forward flip to my back, 3/4, and have a lazy boy position before I land. So let's go play with that. Okay, so let's go right to it. Basically, again, I'm gonna start off with thinking, well, hands and knees. We don't want the athletes to be jumping like this. It's gonna hurt the back. We make sure they're landing on all fours all at the same time, not going back and forth like this. Everything's nice and flat. And by the time you start playing this game, they should already know these basics anyway. Then we need to get a forward flip. We're gonna build that up step by step. You can start off by just going handstand. You go over. Doesn't have to be pretty at this point. You just need to get them going through the motions. Then you can put them together. You can take one hand out. You can take the other hand out. Getting that circuit. Every time you go through one of these little baby steps that a lot of people skip because they don't think they need it, those steps are actually building the circuits in your brain. So you do need them. Then we take out all the hands. We start building that confidence. Going maybe a little bit higher, piece by piece. Maybe now we go and land actually a seat drop. Now I need a lazy boy position because that's what it says here. So I need to land like this. So let's now add that in again at the end. Notice how I break it down to 2 pieces. I don't just tell them to throw it and add this in. I say throw what you already know, bounce, then think about the new thing that you're eventually going to add to the previous. Break into 2 steps, then merge them together. Now when the athlete gets comfortable with that, piecing it together is pretty easy. And you've now effectively created yet another skill, which again is not in the code of points, but is definitely on that path. The athletes should really realize that you have 3 axes, but they're not individual skills. They are pathways of rotation with infinite amount of possibilities between each little step. So when you take a back full and a double full, there's so many little steps in between, and the athlete should go through those steps for fun, piecing it together in the brain, creating that map that will help them in the future. All right, so we just did the beginner version of it where we actually just did the twisting axis. Then we went into the intermediate level where we actually did the flipping axis. Now we're going to go to the advanced level where we do the twisting and the flipping all together. This is going to give us more combinations, and it's going to make the athlete really have to think on their feet here. But you can still see the idea is that we are building these skills, and any combination of these pieces of paper can be built no matter what you're picking. You just have to understand it and build it piece by piece, degree by degree, step by step. You will notice that the athlete will start to learn to bring the arms in, to understand the order of operations as discussed. But again, coaches, you're not going to have to tell your athletes this. They're going to kind of play with it and figure it out as they go. So just guide them, create that environment with them, have the throw mats there, encourage them as they're going along their path. You don't have to teach them how to do the path. You just need to create the environment which they can do it safely. Let them figure it out in their head. It'll make them a more self-reliant athlete that will make them safer and better in the long term. So let's get right into the advanced level. So I'm going to pick one of these again. So we're going to start off with our position, our takeoff positions here. Close my eyes, pick one, and it is a straddled seat drop I have to start off in. Something like this, 90 degrees maybe. That's kind of a traditional artistic gymnastics sort of way. So I have to be in that position. Now I got to figure out exactly how many twists and flips I'm doing. So I will be picking if I'm going to be doing a twist to the right or left. Eyes are closed. And I'm going to be twisting to the left, my bad way. Now I'm going to have to pick how many twists I'm doing. Blah, blah, blah. And we will be doing half of a twist to the left. Now I'm going to re-pick this one. Now coaches, what you can do is have 2 copies of all of these, so then you can pick another one, or you can just pick from the same one. It's just depending on how you want to do it, doesn't matter. And we're going to now have a full, is it going to be a forward flip or back flip? We don't know. And forward flip. So with a forward flip, full forward flip, we're going to have with a half twist to the left, and we're going to have a position here where it is a clap. So it's not really a position, but it is something you can do in the air. And again, you can see that fundamentally we get to change this. We can play with it. You can do hit the elbows, hit the hands, pull the ear, whatever you can come up with. But this is the skill now for the advanced athletes. You have to do a straddle seat drop with a forward front flip, which will be back to either feet or to a straddle seat drop. Remember, we kind of modified depending on the skill level and how you want to land. And then we're going to do it with a half turn to the left with a clap. All right, let's now go play with this. So let's bring it over to trampoline. Again, we're going to build it up piece by piece, step by step. Okay, so let's go through it. So again, we start with our first piece, which is going to be a straddle seat drop. Something like this. Making sure everything is good. Depending on the athlete, you can have them land with the arms up, but it will require more core conditioning. But honestly, at this level, if your athlete can't land like that with their arms up and without falling, you probably haven't conditioned enough. So make sure you guys condition along with these drills. But now we need a forward flip. This is going to be where it's a little bit tough here because fundamentally, I now need to create rotation. I can't lean like I can with my feet here. If I just lean here, I just naturally flip. It's easy. But now the fact that I am doing a seat drop, it's much harder because my feet are literally in the way. This is where you're going to want to have to use the arms to create this rotation. So again, you're going to build it up piece by piece. All right? You can go low and go into a handstand. Building it up piece by piece. Again, we're going to flip. And we're going to now, here, step by step. We're not going too high. We're not blasting ourselves in the sky. You should be able to do this pretty low. Maybe go to seat drop or, yep. Here, notice how we're stepping it up, building it bit by bit. There we go, we got the first part. So we got the straddle seat drop with the forward flip. Now we're gonna add the twist. Again, the order of operations says I need to twist to the left, and I'm gonna do it after the flip. Again, piece by piece. now the only thing we have to do left, the final order of operations, the clap. You'll notice that again, I have to do the foot first, get that twist around, and then once I'm on the ride, the clap is quite easy. If you try to clap too quick, you're not gonna be able to get the twist around and you're gonna get stuck. So again, we can see how we built anything step by step, piece by piece, knowing the order of the operations and be able to just systematically build it. Okay, so now let's look at a couple of examples here. So let's say you end up picking stomach drop, backwards flip with a 3/4 flip in a pike position. Obviously you can tell that if you actually were to do this, you land directly on your head. Now, some people in Russia and other places can actually do this where they land with their hands on a handstand, but a lot of times coaches won't want to do that, neither will the athletes. So if you want, what you can do is round up or round down. So what you can end up doing is either rounding all the way up so that you go either back to stomach or to feet, depending if you want to do the Cody, or you can end up rounding down, meaning that all you're basically doing is a stomach drop to back drop in a pike position, depending on the skill level. So this is again where coaches, you're really gonna want to be able to think and work with the athletes. You're not just gonna throw them this at first and say, good luck, see what happens. Work with them and make these slight adjustments as you go. Okay, so let's actually play with this one so you can see how I would build it up as well. So we're gonna do a stomach drop with a backward flip, back either to stomach or to feet in a pike position. Now this is the interesting part because a lot of people will look at this and say, hey, well, how are you gonna do it degree by degree, step by step? You can only go in quarters, which would be 90 degrees, which would be 90 steps missed. This is where we actually go off axis. So what we'll do is we'll get it to start off with our stomach drop. Make sure this is all good. We're gonna then go to seat drop. Again, this is where we can build in the pike. To back drop. And now we gotta figure out, okay, well, how are we gonna flip it over? But we can start off by just doing here, pull over. We got the pike, we just broken it down to 2 steps. But now to bring them together, we're gonna go around the side off axis. The freestyle athletes call this turning out. So what we'll end up doing is thinking more about doing a stomach drop here and turning here. You'll notice that when I land, I'm landing more on the side here, right? This I'm going around. I'm not going over top and suitcasing. I'm going around my shoulder. Okay, and we can go degree by degree here. We gain the pike position, we're getting over, hitting that shoulder, staying tight, but we're not risking the neck injuries. This is where coach can come in and throw a mat and be able to help the athlete out with those rougher landings. And this is where you would actually land on the side now. This is where you staying tight really helps. The athlete will kind of start off by doing the head a little sideways because that's what you've taught them, but over time they will start straightening it out. And it's just a building step by step here. And you straighten the legs a little bit. What you'll notice is that the athlete, when they don't quite make it, they will bail like that. This is what you're teaching them, so don't be scared of that. Make sure that the athlete knows that, hey, when it doesn't feel right, bail, turn to the back. That's why we're learning degree by degree, quarter by quarter, piece by piece. Because when it just doesn't feel right, you have a lot more exit strategies that says, uh-oh, I don't know what's happening here. Let me get out and not get hurt. And you can see that you can add in different positions. It's much harder to do it when you're landing here. You're gonna want a little bit of a flip probably. So for stuff like this, again, the coach can help. And your final skill basically would be something like that. Again, you can see how we're building up the skill here and working our way around. We're not just saying, well, this is the way to do it. We're saying we can build it both directions. Now, if I want to re-tear back down, I can actually go over the opposite shoulder and relearn it going the other way. Again, just rebuild it. So no matter what, you're going to be able to build skills here and there. It's never perfect, of course, but this is where you can start realizing that there's nothing impossible. It's just a matter of understanding how do you build it systematically. So even if you're going backwards and you're trying to land on your head or anything like that, all you got to do, either round up, round down to a safer position, work within your skill level, and just keep building. That's all you got to do. Okay, now let's take another example. Let's say what you want to do is a forward three-quarter flip, meaning you jump and land on your back, with a full turn to the right and a floppy fish. Now coaches, you can actually do this by just doing a feet takeoff, which we just kind of imply by not having another position, and you can do it into a foam pit. This is where you can get into harder, crazier tricks, but still be safe. Don't throw those crazy things on the trampoline. Some of the new ones, if you can, do it off your feet and do it into a pit, some kind of foam landing, something soft. Okay? So let's play with this one and we can see how we would build this up. All right, so a lot of people kind of mess up the full twisting dive roll sort of thing. What we're gonna do is just break it down again piece by piece. I like having a mat like this because it forces the athlete to go up and not just simply dive forward and lean too much. So if I need to get the three-quarter first, again, you start off simple, building it up piece by piece. This is where you can practice the floppy fish before you do anything else. And I would have them jump in here. All right, you can just do that. Play with the position, play with the different parts. Now we want to add in the 360. Again, you're just starting off quarter by quarter, piece by piece. Make sure the athlete knows the map that's in their head. And then you finish the roll so they know what direction they're going to go. You don't necessarily have to throw yourself all at once. You can do it in separate pieces. Just because you don't do it all in the air doesn't mean the brain's not working on it. Again, here, nice and tight. You'll notice the arms are in. I don't want them out here. I don't want them here because I could pull a muscle. In like a boxer. Then we just keep adding degree by degree. And eventually, it becomes a full. Here, you can land like this if you want, but again, you can also land like this. I do it both ways, you decide. Nice and tight. Now, this is where we're gonna now start ducking it under. So, what you can do here is, again, you gotta go degree by degree, so I'm twisting, and as I go here, I'm actually going to then drop the shoulder and go sideways. Again, just like the Cody builder, you don't have to go over top. You can go around the side and then build it over top strategically and progressively. You'll notice that I can see it, head's coming in. I'm not directly over, I'm off to the side. So even if you have a bad landing, the worst you'll have is a bit of a pulled muscle. No big deal. And we're just straightening it up over top. The athlete will be good at this point, and they'll start understanding it, and you'll be able to take the mat out. Now, what you can do at this point is actually rebuild it again here, or you can kind of go for it. This depends on you, but you shouldn't be able to say that, oh, I have to go for it. Some athletes will get freaked out now that there's more space. So you have to be prepared to rebuild it from the ground up, though. Again, you're just getting the patterns built in the head. If you can abstract it, understand what the body wants, making it happen is actually much easier than you think. Again, now you're just gonna go around the side. Here, keeping those arms in, around the shoulder, not over top. You straighten it out over time. And eventually, straight over. You do that a couple times, and now you just got to add in the flop. This is where it just gets fun, and you just get to play with it. And then that's how you learn a weird, wacky skill like that. Again, just because we're flipping over doesn't mean we have to go over. We can go around the side and systematically build it up over top, degree by degree, piece by piece, step by step. So that's the SAQ. Basically what it is a statistic and a game that you can play with your athletes to try to determine, do they understand how to build skills? A lot of people just kind of flick through the code of points and say, oh, here's a skill. They memorize that skill, and then they move on to a new one. And then each skill almost has its own distinct way of building. But the reality is that it's actually all the same path. You go degree by degree forward, sideways, backwards, twisting. They're all paths. And you're not creating new skills. Those are just arbitrary things that humans have labeled. You're actually going down a path of rotation that goes anyway from 360 degrees to 1440 to whatever it is that you can keep adding degree by degree. What you'll learn to do through this game is to realize that you can build these skills with different takeoffs, different twists, different flips, and different positions in the air, which effectively makes it the way you can learn freestyle. Freestyle is not something that is a huck and chuck mentality. Freestyle is the idea that you can build and invent skills. A lot of people just look through the book, oh, here's a skill, here's a skill, here's a skill, learn, 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 but they don't really mesh them together so that they really understand it. This is the process in where you build the map in your head that allows you to build any skill that you can imagine. No more do you have to be held back by just what other people have done and showed you. You can now abstract it, create it in your mind, and then create it in real life. So I hope you guys start using this drill, play with it. We're gonna go over how to actually calculate this and systematically progress it over a couple years with your athletes, and we're gonna be able to test your athletes and come up with an actual quantifiable result that tells you as the coach and the athlete how well they really understand the building processes of rotation. This is how you can invent acrobatics, not simply just do it.